We are live, whatever the Google messages say. It is the Beck Scrum, is Sam and Thomas and Sasha. And I have been at a meeting today for the Volunteer for Change group. So it's like, there is like a consortium in Harrow of people who've got lottery funding. We have a lottery in the UK. They've got like some portion of £1 million, like 350,000. To like support volunteering in Harrow. It's still unclear. Like they're supposed to have a digital strategy at some point. Maybe there will be some money that filtered down to us. It's still completely unclear to me when that is, but at least I was having some conversations today, so that was good. That was most of the day. I've been now working. It's been DevOps. I'm wrestling with the Heroku, trying to get website one automated PR deploys working. I'm making some progress. I'm not there yet. It goes on. It feels like a big yak shaving activity, because really what I'm trying to get down to is to do an independent test of the upgrade to Premium Plus pathway that we need to get pushed out. But yeah, making some progress step by step. Yeah, Thomas, how about you?
Not much to report other than what. Yeah, we still haven't decided what day to host that inception meeting for the dog owner association.
Oh yeah.
I figure out a good name on that project.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll.
Who's a good boy?
Yeah, good boy. Yeah.
Good dog.
It's good. It's a very good suggestion. It might very well end up. So I think that's it. I had a conversation with my students today and yesterday also about the importance of doing open source projects after the bootcamp. I'm in the process of hiring one of my students, actually, that is about to graduate, and I told that person that at least 10% of his time should be devoted to open source projects when working on this. So,
good stuff.
And of course, that your agencies are, premium choice of open source projects, but it's free for them. Yeah, so that's a good thing. I'm very happy for you trying to find sponsors. I'd love to hear more about that when the time comes. And I always keep my ears and eyes open for sponsorship whenever I'm lucky so far. Yeah, I guess that's all from me.
Well, good check-in. I hope your cold is improving as well, Thomas.
Yeah.
Like I said, well, these man flu. You can't be too careful.
But you see, I had a very good morning today because I fixed that extra cable.
Yeah.
And I also got 2 sign-ups to my bootcamp. So
that makes all the difference. Yeah.
In some weird way that influenced my man. So.
That's what you need. You need lots of primal success, and that allows you to overcome the evil forces of man flu.
The self-pity. But I kind of enjoy man. I like to be with that sometimes. However, I have arguments with my wife. She doesn't.
Yeah, I think so. Same around the world. Tom, we're losing Thomas' audio there. You might want to shut down your video. But yeah, at another occasion, we'll work out a project to increase wife sympathy for man flu.
Yes,
that's clearly.
That's a very worthy goal.
Yes, I think we could draw down a lot of sponsorship for that.
That is actually making the world a better.
Sasha, how are things going with you?
Yeah, they're good. I think I'm in better health than either of you two.
Sounds like it.
Mental health.
Yeah, you saw the PR, the tiny PR.
It was awesome. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I've prepped it and told Raul to merge it, and yes, I love tiny PRs. They are awesome.
But apparently, I saw a note that someone had struggled to merge it. I think that's.
It might have been out of sync with the develop branch, but actually that's a thing now. GitHub allows us to kind of automatically bring them back into sync. So I think it's all good. You actually don't need to do anything. I think I've possibly merged it. There's a separate thing that's the thing I'm working on now, which is automated deployment of PRs. So there's a little thing. I mean, I'll just share my screen. You can just see. So we go over here. Here's your PR. Yeah, so your PR, awesome, awesomely small, love it. Fixing, one issue, a serious issue. I mean, not serious issue, but issue by a real user, a real person had a comment. But so there's this thing here about, this is the thing that I'm working on, which is automated deploys of pull requests to Heroku, which when it works, it would mean that one could click through and see the running app automatically and see the change running in production and in a sort of clone of the production app. But anyway, so you don't need to worry about anything. You've done an awesome pull request today. Your karma will be increasing, not just figuratively, but also literally on the website. You'll be gradually moving up. Actually, you can probably find you now easily within the, once that gets merged in, you will be, let's see, where are you? You're not there? There you are. Look, there you go. Oh, but at the moment, you are the premium member with the least, what's it called? Karma. However, there are simple ways to fix this. For example, if you go into your account on Adventures and you add GitHub and Google Plus, Thomas is muted. Yes. If you add GitHub and Google Plus, you get like 50 points for each of those. And there's other. If you fill out your bio and skills and stuff, you get extra points. So there is salvation in the form of that simple ways that you can compete with all of these other high-powered premium members. But yeah, anyway.
So changing the subject slightly.
Please do.
I will keep that in mind. So I've just moved on to this refactor for on my own page method.
Have you? Cool.
It's pretty basic. I didn't realize the logic was already there when I voted on that.
Yeah. Oh, no worries.
But I was going to ask a couple of things about it. So one thing is, so we've got this, where has it gone? In fact, I'll screen share one sec.
Well, I guess what we'll do maybe there is we'll maybe wrap the Scrum up and let Thomas go. And actually, yeah, and unsurprisingly, I do actually have some time now, so we can carry on. Thomas, have a fantastic trip back and a nice evening, and hopefully you'll feel completely better tomorrow.
I can listen in for another 5, no problem.
Okay, yeah, we'll go. Yeah, Sasha, if you want to share your screen, and we'll look at this.
So while you're sharing your screen, Sasha, are you working right now? What's up with you, brother?
So I'm not working at the moment. I was working for about 1.5 years at this place. It's kind of an entertaining story. Their CEO did a bit of a scam on them, did a fundraising round, and then I think his fundraising was on the strength of like his own ability, and then he sold all his shares and quit the company.
Wow.
And then as a consequence of that, I don't fully understand. Various people have been suing the company who seem to be as much of a victim as anyone else. But yeah, so they lost a huge amount of money in a very small space of time. And I was a contractor, so we're like, yeah, okay, sorry.
Oh, shit.
We can't afford you anymore. So now I'm back into work. Yeah, good times.
All right. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. All right.
Anyway, let's screen share. So yeah, there were just a couple of things I was going to ask on this. One is we've got this in place. So I this looks a lot like it's kind of based on the stuff that I watched earlier and the Ryan Beck. But one thing is just this kind of made me twitch, and I don't know if there's a reason here why you wouldn't want me to do this. But for me, when I overwrite method missing, I always want to put in what's it called? Respond to overwrite as well, that kind of matches.
Okay. Yes, that sounds like a sensible thing to do. Yeah.
Cool. And the other thing I was going to ask is, so again, just from having watched the screencasts, this looks kind of similar, but all this stuff up here is is kind of different and does seem kind of messy. Whereas what they recommended was for your presenters, you just pass in the view context when you initialize, and then you put the methods on your context rather than having them all be, having like all of these methods, and then every time I want to add something new, I have to require a new bit.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Well, absolutely. Open for extension, closed for modification.
So yeah, you were happy for me to add that little respond to here, and B, refactor this slightly so that it just took a view.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. I'm not necessarily such a huge fan of the whole presenter.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I love them. I mean, I've never heard presenters before, but yeah, I was wondering.
Well, I guess the thing that what I noticed. I mean, if we look at, let's go and have a. I mean, I'll say before we go on into presenters, maybe I'll say about. Let's go and find. So we're on website 1 here, and we're talking about what are our presenters is a user presenter. Yeah, we've got this context. The actual ticket that you're working on is about moving. It's like org owner into. Should we actually let's find the ticket and put everything in context. So. Here we go. So we're talking about a new ticket. Me loving small pull requests. Come on, tickets. Org owner. Yeah, Michael said he should be available a bit later on. Maybe I can stay pairing with you until he's. No, I can't find the org owner thing. No, nothing.
What's this like? An org owner?
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm getting. You were talking about some new ticket to work on. Having done your one thing. Which ticket was that? I thought it was the.
I just posted it into the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay. Come on, internets. That should. Right. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. On my own page. Sorry, I'm getting confused about. I think that's a ticket that we're voting on a local sport.
Sorry, so this is actually relevant to this ticket. The reason it kind of occurred to me was if I screen share again. So in the user presenter, we're going to end up with something like this. Oops.
Go on.
On my own page where we just check.
Right. So this relates to. So Corey was working on some stuff, and it relates to. Let's go back over to the views for the user. No, that's wrong. The specs. The views for the users, and in the profile and in the summary page, we've got actually here a couple of situations here. So Corey put in this pull request related to. Shall we check for make sure that the hire me thing doesn't appear when you're looking at your own page, which seems kind of sort of sensible. And then we've also got this thing of providing the upgrades to premium membership, but only for you on your own page at the moment. And so there's the same sort of logic here, which is checking whether the user object associated with the page, the profile page that you're viewing, is the same as the logged in user. Right. And so they were sort of extracting that potentially into this presenter. I mean, I think the reason that I'm not necessarily such a huge fan of the presenter is partly that we end up with these things like we're kind of referring to the user presenter.user. I mean, maybe that's a sign just that this is ripe to be refactored into the presenter thing itself. I guess, the alternative to the presenter thing is that you just have a user helper and that you have the, where are they gone? Where are our helpers? Helpers like so. So we've got a user's helper, which actually Marowen has just dropped a couple of things in there. I guess the question with the presenter is, by what does the presenter bias over user with user helper? And we can see here that for example, in this context, we're just, now on presenter we can call the display name. I mean, there's certain sorts of logic here, but it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we seem to end up having kind of a mix of presentation layer logic and logic related to, we're checking here if the user's skill list is blank. And so, yeah, I don't. I guess, like, for example, these sorts of methods, if they relate to the user, then if you have it in the user's helper, then you'd be passing the user model in many times. And so it's sort of like, well, why not set up with a bit of state for that? I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, what do you see as the big win of having the presenter module?
Well, mainly that you don't have to use helpers, because I really hate Rails helpers. I try and avoid using it because they're so not Ruby.
In what sense?
They're not really very object oriented. They're just kind of.
No, that's true. Although from a functional programming point of view, one can argue that actually, I mean, the interesting that you say that. From object-oriented programming says, yes, let's make everything be a dialogue around the objects, but then objects have state, and functional programming comes from the point of view of saying state is dangerous. If you can have a method, a function that always returns exactly the same thing, independently of what you're doing, like that there's no state, that's actually much easier and simpler to reason about.
Yeah.
But that's the two different. They're two different paradigms.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested in learning about functional programming.
Yeah, I mean, go on.
Yeah, I've got really into the object-oriented paradigm. I sort of feel like I've started to get my head around it recently.
Sure.
I sort of understand why Ruby is so good for that, or at least to be any kind of expert, but sort of bits have been feeling like they've been falling into place. I watched wonderful Sandy Metz talk on how to be sort of take it to extremes in Ruby.
Sure.
Which I don't know if I can link you to. If you,
yes.
She mainly to make a point rather than to actually saying that you should do it. Because she ended up monkey patching the true class and nil class. And
absolutely.
It's great fun. I'll send you.
And I've read her Puda talk. I mean, I'm also a big fan of object-oriented programming. I think particularly the thing that I've got into is this idea of the domain-driven design, and I think that it's really, really important to have this match between like what the users and the devs and the admins and everybody, the language that they're talking about. What are the interacting entities in the system? So we have this kind of, like in website 1, we've got this division between members. They're called members some places, and users in other places, and volunteers in other places, and blah. I mean, I think that I also like the object-oriented. I mean, Abdi Grimm, apparently one of his most popular Ruby tabas is on about removing the user object. So I think there's, I mean, there's like exciting directions to go. I guess to bring it back to this thing here that we're looking at is, we have an existing code base that has the presenter being used in it, and I think probably, it's as part of this working on this ticket and this pull request, we don't necessarily want to go against the grain of using a presenter. I mean, the concept of a presenter, the logic of a presenter, makes sense as a way of grouping the helpers together and so on. I think we want to be a little bit careful about what goes in there. I mean, this whole presenter approach and all of the things being put into there was done before I became strongly involved with the coding on the project. I guess the thing in the context, if we look, for example, at this summary view, which is where we're which is driving our refactoring, is, I guess for me, when I come in here and we're asking the question, presenter country name, ? Or presenter latitude, it's it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, maybe just a lack of familiarity there. You know, I would be more used to. So, for example, if this had, you know, user.gravatar image. I mean, maybe in this context we should be, or maybe it should be that we should.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if
user underscore presenter
naming or variable naming issue.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, go on.
One other thing I was going to say, slightly more concretely, that I'm sure you've considered, but another reason I really like this pattern is I find it very hard to test view logic in a way that doesn't feel silly. Whereas when you break out, you've just got a nice object that has, you know, reasonably clearly defined responsibilities.
Yes.
Which is basically whenever you need to combine logic from the model and the view, you ask this object in it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just much easier to set up a spec for it.
Indeed, that is entirely true. Another thing to consider there, I mean, interestingly, so MarrowN just did a pull request, that the one that actually generated this user helper, and the first thing that he had was a he had like one cucumber test, and then he had also a helpers test, and he had a controller spec. And I was set, like, when we started a lot of these projects, I was saying yes, view specs, controller specs, helper specs, everything. I've moved over the years towards saying we should have, you know, more, you know, if there's view logic, it should be tested in the cucumber level. And I wasn't necessarily thinking that he would make a change, but he actually took that to heart, and he deleted his user helpers test and added in an extra cucumber test. And so now both of these code paths are tested via the feature test of the two different things that need to happen. And I think the reason why that's desirable is that actually we don't really care if those features are implemented in this way and that way. If it was the case that there was, you know, a couple of feature tests, but then there was a sort of a whole, you know, combinatorial explosion of logic, right, for the underlying thing, that it was kind of really laborious to have all the separate feature and cucumber tests for, then that's one thing. When you've got effectively unit tests of part of the view, where they're not exercising any different code paths from the feature test, I almost think of them as kind of being a drag on your ability to change the system and change the implementation if the feature logic, the feature tests are properly exercising all of the underlying logic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, the only counterpoint I would offer to that is that feature tests, in my last workplace, we drowned in them.
Yes.
They just do seem to run much more slowly than
they do
unit tests. And to me,
I think that is a very good counterpoint. Absolutely. Although on website 1 at the moment, I think that it takes, you know, the differences are not quite so high. But yes, that is an excellent counterpoint. And I think it's, yeah, to the extent that you get an explosion of pathways, then it's you know, it's important to make sure that your unit tests are doing the heavy lifting there. I think the rule of thumb that I use is that if the functionality is something that's been requested by a user, then it's also kind of in our interest to document that in high-level language in the cucumber tests. Because I think one of the problems of the unit tests, which often get written in the RSpec, is it's then quite difficult to interpret what those end up actually meaning for the end user experience, which ultimately is the goal, right? Is that the end users get what they're expecting. But so that's very interesting to have the discussion with you, actually. But so I think in the context of the user presenter, it's the key thing is, do you agree? It sort of makes sense to be like this ends up being too much logic in the view, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we would all agree on that. And whether that was being moved into a help or presenter is sort of neither here nor there. We have a presenter. Let's move it into the presenter. This sort of thing makes me user path presenter.user. Anyway, I guess I should learn to get comfortable with that maybe. What I was going to say, I guess your key question, if I drag myself back to it, was about some other changes that you might make to the presenter model.
Yeah, so they are actually relevant to this. So if you look at the logic, just the page you were just on again.
Yeah.
Like current user, I'm gonna have to throw into the presenter. And
yes.
Current user is I'm not sure what it's from.
Devise.
But it's yeah. Oh right, yeah. But yeah, so it's another module that I'm going to have to throw into the presenter, as one of we're already including whatever 3 or 4 it was at the top.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and there's, I've linked to some different ways that current user can be pulled into it. And then there's a gem that's like,
yeah.
I mean, and there, like I would say the thing to do is, do like for the first pull request, do the simplest thing. So if that just involves even passing the current user as an argument to something that the user presenter that can then check against, that like that would be an improvement. I mean, I guess did you read the? So we were having
I skimmed through it.
I mean, ultimately, like this, like I think that there's lots of room for further refactoring, exploring gems, and so on. Whatever. The way that would, the sort of the simplest, the path of least resistance is to come in here and where have we got this there and that gets replaced with this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's then more readable like that. So on the note of like small pull requests, I would encourage you to just do the absolute minimum to support that with your best guess about the given choice of variable names and this and the other, and then if that other refactoring that you're suggesting for the base presenter, that sounds like a good idea, but I would open another issue and work on that in a separate pull request, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. So if I want to open an issue, do I just do that on GitHub?
Yeah, you can just come in here and say, and hit issues, new issue, and we can say, base presenter. And I mean, this. Don't feel that you necessarily have to follow like all of these. I mean, that this is sort of to try and help people who are having issues with the site. But if you're suggesting a refactoring, I mean, just feel free to remove that and then put in your motivations for the refactoring and potentially lead an async. I mean, depending on your appetite for discussion, you could be leading an async vote on the thing. Do vote on this.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to ask you to explain. So async votes, is this just a informal thing where somebody puts a link in here, or is it a? So yeah, so it's
yes,
just, right, okay.
Well, I mean, what it is, we've actually also got we've got a new node project called Async Voter that's designed to try and
might be confusing me slightly.
Automate some of this. Yeah, so we're currently doing async voting manually. I have written a blog post on the whole concept, which I will share with you. And so if I allow myself a little hubris, I think we're onto kind of an interesting innovation here, which is that in Scrum and so on, there's this kind of idea that people, the team members vote on the tickets, and you shouldn't really start working on something that hasn't been voted on. Although, of course, you can do. I think it's not a big deal. But the thing that we've done for many years in Agile Ventures is try and get everybody together in scrums and get at least 3 people in a scrum and then vote on the ticket in the scrum while we were there. but I think that there's an extent to which the Hangouts, well, the Hangout Scrums, it's difficult. It sort of excludes people who maybe have limited bandwidth connections, or just that's not their way of doing things. If you know what I mean. And so it occurred to me, it was particularly with the local support project, that recently we were not having any meetings for that, and stuff was not getting voted on. We also moved in local support to start having voting on the point values for what's it called, for chores and bugs as well, because some of the people in those projects were saying, well, there's all these chores and bugs, but as newcomers, we don't know which are the easy or difficult ones to work on. Pivotal Labs says don't put the points on there because that's screwing up your estimates. But in an open source ongoing project, the estimate, I mean, it's all everything is in such a state of churn anyway. It's far more valuable to have a number on almost everything, whether it's a refactoring ticket or a bug fix or what have you, so that people can feel, oh, right, okay, I'm new and I'll take this on, or I've got lots of energy now, right, I can take on a 3 or that kind of thing. So we're doing that. I started in the local support channel, running these async voter operations, which I guess you're maybe sort of perceiving the flow of it here. There's one that was just finished, so you can see here. So, it'd been me running it for a while, but I had this idea of, particularly for the async voter votes, that if for the async voter votes who are trying, the async voter project people who are working towards implementing a bot that would support this, I said, oh, why don't you each take a turn doing it? And they have, and that's led to some very interesting developments. And you can see here now Maro-N in the local support channel. So, you basically act as the bot, so to speak. And so Maro-N, chose a story, and he popped that message in there. You can also add that, pin that to the channel. And the idea is, I think probably there should only be one vote going on at a time, although it gets really confusing. At least one per channel anyway. And so then as people DM'd him, he notifies, and you can see the list of people who are doing it. And this also serves as a confirmation that people know that their vote has been registered. And once he's got 3 votes, then he reveals the numbers. And then if they're all the same, you just assign the thing and you can move on. If not, you can have a little discussion, as they do. And then that's done. And then, I say, oh, someone else wants to do the next vote. Does that make any sense?
Yes. So for the time being, so I should just be looking in the Slack channel for the respective project.
Yes, absolutely.
And then I just message the person who's...
Yeah. So for example, here, for this one here, you could help us out here by, if you went to this thing and had a look at that one and did a vote to the person there so Ed is another premium member who just joined, and that could then resolve that. And then potentially, if you were keen to start working on the refactoring ticket, and I think that, don't feel that you absolutely have to have stuff voted before you work on it. Like, if you really want to work on it, I was saying this to Corey the other day, if you really want to work on it, then you want to work on it, then just do it. It's all good. There's a particular win here that you could help us finish up this vote, and then having created a ticket, you could initiate the next vote on that quickly. And obviously we've had a bit of a chat here about base presenter and so on. Other people might have some interesting ideas, on that, or some warnings or what have you. And then that get voted on and so on, and it sort of moves forward. And it kind of keeps, I think the nice thing about it is that anybody who's watching the channel can kind of keep in the loop about what we're thinking in a way that's, probably not that many people are going to watch the video of you and I talking about this.
One last question. So when you say initiate a ticket, is that like a manual thing, or do you mean like create a card on Waffle, or Waffle does it automatically?
Well, and you can use Waffle, but you don't have to go through Waffle. Like, Waffle is built entirely on GitHub issues, so it's a redisplay of them in that Kanban form. It also provides the number, the estimate that, interestingly, GitHub, their tickets there's not a kind of consistent way of assigning a number to them. So the sequence of things, if I were you, the sequence of things that I would do is, having had that thought about those additional refactorings, is I'd just jump in there to episode 1 and just outline the refactorings that you think that you would do for the presenter and how that would be an improvement. Submit that. You could, I would, jump onto here, give Ed your vote on this thing. While that vote finishes up, you could work on the change that we were just discussing here to produce the, this user is the same app, this is my page, whatever language ends up being the right one. Put in the micro PR for that. By the time you've done that, this vote might have gone and finished, and you might be able to kick off the new vote on the next refactoring thing that you want to do. And that, does that all make sense?
Yep.
Sorry, I'm very chatty because I'm working from home and I don't get to see people.
I don't remember you being so taciturn when I knew you at Makers.
No, well, I'm just a chatty person. Any excuse will do. Everyone needs to realize that they can always tell me to stop talking, and I'm never offended because
I'm a fan of talking. I'm spending a lot of time on my own at the moment as well, so talking is good. Helps keep me sane. Or just watching Sam bounce around. All bonuses. Okay, yeah, I'll go do stuff. Good. Well, I'll go make myself some tea, and I'll go do that stuff now.
Cool.
Are you gonna head off, or are you sticking around?
I'm hanging around. I mean, the family I think are coming home downstairs, and they'll probably be supper in like half an hour. So I guess we'll shut the. I mean, I can leave the hangout running. I mean, I'll probably be like bashing stuff for another half an hour. I want to see if I can get this PR deploy fixed, but
I mean, I think all this stuff is super basic anyway. So
yeah, cool. Well, oh, interesting. The stop broadcast button has come back, which is it wasn't there before, and that was. I will not bore you with details of the wrestling with the Google Hangout plugins that I have undertaken this week, because there's a blog post about it that you could read if you were so inclined.
Oh yeah, it's open.
But yeah, anyway, so it looks like I can stop the broadcast.